Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to the first live stream of 2024. This your boy Freeze, and today got a pretty interesting stream set up. We're going to talk about, of course, as you probably guessed from the thumbnail, we're going to talk about the new endurance bots. Now, I did talk about these bots a couple of weeks ago, and when I talked about them then, they had just came in the play test. So now we're going to be looking at what is supposed to be the finalized version. I'll give my final verdict on the bots. It is an individual event this week, so I know a lot of you are already starting to make your decisions on whether or not you want to go for the bot or not. But we'll talk about all that. And to be honest with you, we already know that this bot has fire ability. So I want to talk about the fire bots that we have in the game so far because to be honest with you, I think our fire bots in the game probably need a little bit more love. Now granted, there are some good ones, and we'll talk about that too. And then, you know, as we usually do every 8 weeks when we go to the endurance event, I'll talk a little bit about how I'm approaching this event. And I got one suggestion that I got from a good friend of mine regarding the rank system in the game. And it's such a good idea. I wanted to go share it on stream. And hopefully one day we'll get on Discord, we'll get the suggestions channel back up to where we can write on it again and we can get this in there. So, yeah, really, really um, good stream. Really feeling good about everything. And yeah, man, so it's going to be fun. But before we talk about any of that, let's go ahead and swap over to newsletter. And I actually scrolled down a little bit already, but you can actually see Leo Prime and some of the stats. Well, I was gonna say G1. It's not a G1. It's a bot specific core and stuff like that. So let's scroll back up to the top for this week's event, which is going to be called Rust and Fire. And obviously, it is week 8 of the saga. Last week of the saga, we survived another one. And yeah, it's an individual endurance event, and I'm really interested to see how this goes. I've had my positive, my share of positive and negative thoughts about an individual endurance event, but here we are. And so, just like any other endurance event, you have to do 87.5K to get the guaranteed 5 stars. So for the Autobots, it's going to be Leo Prime. For us on the Decepticon side, it's going to be Predacon Inferno. And you're going to fight through 100 tiers. And lots and lots and lots of prizes. Pretty good prize chart and typical battle zones. So like we were just looking at, Texas Hammer always does some really nice graphics, just showing the bot, showing your stats and everything, which we looked at a little bit on my stream 2 weeks ago. And then we got some thoughts from some of our playtesters. And honestly, that caused a little bit of controversy this week. I don't know how many of you guys are on Discord, or on the line app, but like every line app that I went to um, was talking about the the newsletter this week because there was one particular uh, review that was left out of, and I'm not 100% sure why. I've got my theories, but I'm not gonna get up there and do a bunch of he said, she said, or anything like that. But yeah, that caused quite a stir, and honestly, I feel like it caused a lot of people to not want to participate in the endurance event. I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, if you hadn't seen the newsletter, take a look at these guys. Is on my playtest teammates and see their opinions on the bot. And fellow content creator, official content creator, Soldier, actually made a video showcasing each of the bots, the Leo Prime on the Autobot side and Predacon Inferno for us cons. So if you hadn't seen those yet, check those out as well. Season 23, kind of wrapping that up. And speaking of content creators, make sure you check out all of your official content creators, Engineer Horse, myself, of course, Soldier, and Sunstreaker Waza. I saw a lot of you guys on Sunstreaker Waza stream earlier. So you guys heard a little bit about the bot. I'll tell my side, what I think about the bot as well, and then hopefully come tomorrow morning, you got your mind made up. And don't forget to check out all of your unofficial content creators as well. And got a couple of them in the chat. I know Mercenary Terror actually has a new page. My good friend and moderator, he was first on the chat today. So somewhere in there, I actually shared the link for his channel. But he hit start his channel all over again. And he's got really really good content. The content is still as good as always. So check him out. And a couple of other guys in there. Shout them out here in a minute. Like I said, saga schedules last week, and I'm really interested to see what happens in the first full saga of 2024. So I know a lot of people who are excited just after the break and everything, starting to look for a bunch of new content, starting to look for 5-star batches. I know my teammate Candyman was in the chat earlier asking about the Sword of Balance. So hopefully all this stuff is coming out to us real soon. The 5-star Sword of Balance, I should say. So hopefully that's coming all to us real soon. Got some nice artwork in the community corner as always. Alright, they got some bug fixes, well, a bug fix in there for Wild Rider, uh, for the ability 11 bug, because basically that they had a bug that, depending on what order you use, Wild Rider and Slipstream, when you use the abilities on a target, change whether or not the explosion would occur. And I actually saw that happen right after Wild Rider came out. One of my teammates was using it, and not only did it not explode, but it also kept looping around so that you couldn't end the battle, and cost him like a war attempt or two. So that's supposedly fixed, and should have been in the patch today. And then Space Ape is going to be doing a stream on the 18th. So not next week, but the following week, they're going to be doing a stream. It's going to be the first one of the new year. So I hope that they're going to just do say a lot of exciting stuff, man. I know the last stream they did before the holiday, I was talking to a lot of my buddies, and they were kind of disappointed with it. They wanted to kind of see like the year in review, or exciting things for the next year. So maybe this will be that stream. And yeah, man. So hopefully that'll be cool, man. I say I'm looking forward to it. But all right, let's flip over to the chat and let's take a look at who we got in here today. I see that my good buddy and moderator, the Mercenary Terror, was in there first. Thanks for joining, buddy. As well as E Rods is with us again. And then, like I said, my teammate Candy Band is in there. Wants to know where's this 5-star Sword of Balance. Let's see. Got Tony B in there. I was talking to him a little bit earlier. Thanks for joining, buddy. And Tony B says that not many are going for the new bot because sadly he isn't that great. Which I'll give my take on it in a little bit. But it seems that, and I want to talk about that a little bit today as well, because it seems to be kind of a pattern with endurance bots that people aren't always sold right away. And I got a vision for what I'd like to see, and then you guys can tell me what you think. And I asked the question in the chat earlier because I usually hang out on the chat just talking to people before the stream. But who's all going for the 4-star or the 5-star version of Leo Prime and Predacon Inferno? Let me know in the chat what your goals are for this weekend. All right, my good friend, very, very good friend, Chris Harmon is in the chat, moderator, and I know he's got to be excited. Those Michigan Wolverines going to that national championship. So congrats to you guys. You guys beat us up pretty good. I said I I don't really claim any particular football team, but my sons are huge Alabama fans, so I usually watch all the Alabama games with them, and so I started to kind of root for them. But y'all got us, man, for sure. Y'all played a great game, so good luck on Monday, is it? Let's see. Who else do we got in here? We got Robert C4, another good friend and fellow content creator. Thanks for joining. Another good buddy of mine, an Alliance family mate, Fox the Bomb, also one of my moderators. And make sure you guys give a shout out to the moderator teams, man. Like, I watch a lot of streams up there. I watch a lot of Transformers Earth Wars stuff, man. I don't think anybody out here got my moderator team beat. So, man, please, uh, give those guys a pat on the back for me. We got Lou Mega in there. Thanks for joining us again, Lou. Michael Cooper's with us again. Thanks for joining. Blade 19 is with us again. Wishing everybody a happy holiday. Thanks for that, Blade 19. Hope you had a good holiday as well. My playtest friend Jacada is in there with us again. Thanks for joining, buddy. As well as Soundwave is hanging out with us again. And so is Randall Hamilton. So thanks, guys, for joining the stream. And it looks like everybody had a lot to say so far, so that's good. I always love coming to this stream and just seeing everybody interact with each other. It's become kind of the social event for the week. Um, when especially on Thursdays now, because it's like I'm streaming, Waza's streaming, we can kind of feed off of each other. I said, especially, but I like Wednesdays. I really started to like Wednesdays. I got about 2 or 3 more weeks of Wednesdays left for the basketball season ends, and then I'm gonna try to go back to Wednesdays. So I'll send you guys out some info on the Discord and on the channel and the community tab, so you guys will know when I make the switch back. But we're looking at about 2 to 3 weeks. Let's see, we got Big Joe is up here in the chat again with us. Thanks for joining, Big Joe. And I think I got everyone, and if I missed you, I apologize. Let me know in the chat. So, let's flip over to the big battlefield screen. And I actually got some. Let me know. I want to test something out, so I actually got some music playing in there. Let me know if that music is too loud, guys. Just say something in the chat, and I can adjust it. And I'm probably going to turn it off shortly, but let me know if I need to turn that up or down for me, because I can't hear it. I got everything locked in to my stream software. But yeah, man, I got a request for that actually the other day after one of my. I got a request from that the other day from one of my subscribers, and I said, you know what? I'll try it. I always felt like it might be a little bit distracting, so I'll use it at times. But yeah, let me know. Let me know if that music is too loud, too low, whatever. All right. So let's take a look at our newest endurance bot. And I just lost the chat for a second. Let me get the chat back up. And so for us on the Decepticon side, we're gonna have Predacon and Inferno. And I tell you what, man, like honestly, if you guys saw my stream 2 weeks ago, I was stupid excited when we first got this spot, just because I saw all the damage he can do. He's got like awesome range, and yeah, like I was really excited. We first got him on the server, on the test server, and he was tearing up everything. And so we got to a point where, a couple of the guys were like, hey man, the war effects and everything, they don't work as well on the test server. And so Dale actually set us up an alliance we can go into where he basically, like the little playground that he uses for war effects and stuff like that, and he set it up to be more realistic, more comparable to what we have in game on the live server. And it looked a lot different, man. Like, I have to be honest with you. It just made me really reconsider the bot a little bit. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of people started reconsidering the bot after they kind of saw what it can do. But it does have decent base stats. The damage is pretty good. The health is pretty good. But some of the problems that we ran into, particularly, is just like with the damage. Is it going to do enough damage at top levels to try to make an impact? Now, I know we got some guys in there. Jacada, you can jump in and chime in the chat if you like, because I said I know you're a playtester as well. Um, but it just got to the point where it seemed like it was a tad bit underwhelming damage wise. Now you maxed out level 70, ability 11 with the power core, with the bot specific core, even though it still says G1 on there. You know, you're getting it up to 2009 damage per second and over the course of 10 seconds. Now, it makes me think a lot about fire abilities, and I'm going to talk about fire abilities more in a little bit. But is that enough damage to make an impact at the top levels? And so the comparison, and it actually started to get on my nerves, but the comparison to this bot that a lot of people made was to Octo Punch and Sea Spray. So there's a maxed out Octo Punch and Sea Spray, and you can see the damage is kind of the same, but there's a huge difference for me. Now it has the range that Octo Punch is gonna have, and Sea Spray is gonna have, and damage is around the same, but you're gonna have, you know, you got that stun element, and as long as you take out the build bots and everything, then you're gonna have that stun. And for me, that's huge because that means, especially, and then even though it's not that many of them right now, if you get front-loaded bases and stuff like that, then you know, this is gonna protect your team. So um, it does have that similarity, but here's where the differences come in. And while I'm having this conversation, you guys let me know in the chat, what do you think makes for a good endurance bot? And I'm going to tell you some of the conversations I had over the course of the week to explain to you what I think a good endurance bot is. So that's what we're looking at when you go look at the, you know, the bot specific core. You're increasing ability damage 15.5%, so pretty standard stuff. The apes did say earlier, yeah, I think this is the increase that so you for the shield that he's gonna get, and so he's gonna get a little bit of shield and try to protect him a little bit. But here's the problem. So if you look at his range is long range, but these are the combats he used, and a big part of what we were talking about as testers is pathing. And so when we originally got the bot in playtest, one of the problems that we were running into is that this bot would stop shooting his long range ability, or normal attack I should say, and he would start to engage in melee combat with outpost bots. Obviously this is bad because he's going to rush forward in front of your team, and you know, it makes him a little bit suicidal. So the push the entire time was like, hey, we want to be able to use range combats, we want to be able to use range combats. Didn't happen, and so now we're stuck with melee combats and minions. So let's take a look at what he's going to look like in play with a range combatant, or what he's going to look like without a combat. Now I'll say this, for me, when I first saw the concept of the bot, because I'm a concept guy, every time I go look into the game, I was like, okay, what's the concept? And is this going to be something that I'm going to enjoy? So when I look at my war team, and I look at what I feel like I'm missing, the thing that I'm missing is this. I want two things. I want to be able to shoot a ranged ability because I wanted to, like, I found a place right now temporarily for my Cosmic Rust Blaster, but I also wanted something that I could use for a long range attack that I could try to combo off of. Now, I feel like personally, people haven't been doing enough. You get that extra 20% when you use acid and fire. People haven't been using that enough. They just haven't. And to the point that one of the things I'm actually going to talk about it later on, but one of the things I want to talk about is, you know, Fireline and Top Shot, and how people abandoned them as soon as they were nerfed, but immediately after they were nerfed, you ended up having that 20% bonus. And you know, you guys have probably heard me say it before. What did you actually lose when you used that? And I feel like it's still pretty good. I still use it on my team. It still got good AoE for Fireline and Top Shot. So This is one of those things. Cosmic Rust Blaster, same thing. You getting the get a boost when you use some of these items that we're already using. So here I'm just gonna go into the prime zone and we'll just take a look. Let's concentrate on what the bot actually does for a second. So say we're out here, we're Z farming, something like that. I'm just gonna drop him real low so we can look and see what he does. And in this case, that range is really, really good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get the power cores off of the screen. But let's say we try to shoot his range as far as we can. Take out as much stuff as we can. Now, one thing with damage over time, with fire attacks, it's always going to be damage over time. So you're going to have to wait a little bit, which is one of the reasons why we didn't want him rushing ahead. But right now you can see that he's using his long range abilities. And in a normal, in a normal just raid, a normal battle, over time, he takes a bunch of stuff out. But then we got war, hard, prime league, we got war effects, stuff like that. So then you gotta wonder, hey man, is this gonna be worth my time? Now, ideally, I wanted to run some combos with him. So the key combo that I wanted to run was with Acid Storm, since I'm gonna have the additional 20%. So I'm gonna pick on my buddy Educator for a little bit. I know he doesn't mind. And I'm gonna go to his base on the test server. And so what this is gonna simulate is we're gonna be in here, Prime League, hard mode, and see some of the differences. Alright, so we click that. We get in Prime League, we'll go hard mode, and we'll see what we get. Now, ideally, what I want to do is be able to use that combo, get that additional 20%, tear up a bunch of stuff really early in the battle. And so I'll just focus on the front half of this base real quick. I'll start off from the left side so I don't get hacked there. And I'll just drop my squad. And I'm glad I did because he got those mines down there. And let's go put Acid Storm right over here in the middle and kind of see what happens. I want to focus on those areas, and you can see that mortar. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at that mortar, and it's still burning, and you can kind of see it kind of stops right there. Even with the combo, it doesn't take the mortar out. It doesn't take the turret out. And so I started to wonder. I was like, if I wanted to go use a combo, I feel like a combo, especially at that cost, it should do pretty good. just gonna keep it a band with you. Gonna be perfectly honest with you guys. I want to destroy some stuff, and when I look at the combo that I just used, you got Predacon Inferno at 5+3, right? Then you've got Acid Storm, well, low cost and low initial cost, 3+2. So now you're talking about using 8 points, and you're not even destroying, some of that mortars have got pretty decent health. But when you're not even taking out a laser turret, I kind of got a problem with that. So that's what I'm kind of looking at, and I want to go take a look in the chat real quick and see what you guys are saying in there so far. I'm actually going to flip back over to the chat and let's see. Okay, and I see Terry posted his link to his channel again, so thanks for that. I know Foggy was in there asking for it. Got a couple new subscribers. Big Joe says he's going for the new bot. So yeah, all right. And that actually brings me to a point that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I think when the endurance events come around, and I told you guys that I was going to talk about my opinions on endurance events, I think it's really 3 types of players. I think there's players that are looking for an advantage. usually prime leg hard mode players that are looking for something awesome and new and amazing that's gonna improve their team. So that's one type of player, and then you're gonna have your players that are just straight up collectors. I said I caught I caught my good buddy Chris in there talking about on Waz's stream, and he was saying something along the lines. He said I went to the school of grind time, and you go for every bot, and to your point, there are times where bots they wind up getting reworks, or they wind up adding something that makes them even more valuable. So you just get whatever you can, and I can respect that too. And then there's a third type of player, usually the free to play players. They're saying, "Nah, I'm not going for the bot." And so, with that being the case, I don't know. It makes me wonder if you lose some of that crowd, if you lose some of that prime leg hard mode crowd that's saying, "Hey, this isn't going to be good enough. I've already got bots to do this or do it better." What do we need to do to make endurance something that more people want to participate in? Because you're always gonna the collectors. You're always gonna be collectors for the most part if you get the ability to do so and the time to do so. All right, let me continue looking through the chat. I see Soldier has joined the chat. Thanks for joining, buddy. Michael Cooper made the comment they put catgut on him for the challenges. He got stuck attacking walls. Wasn't impressed. I said I actually didn't do the challenge battle yet, so I'm gonna check that out after I get off a stream. But it just kind of makes you wonder. I mean, we've always had those problems with some certain melee combat bots, especially the ones that do any kind of sword or axe. Um, so makes it kind of disappointing. So the other thing I wanted to look at in regards to endurance events is, and it actually leads me to a good point. So I was sitting down today, I was preparing for the stream, and I was at work, and as I think of ideas for the stream, I kind of just jot them down on a notepad, and I actually got the a sticky note that I wrote for myself today. And a couple of things that I'm concerned about with endurance events are as follows. So one thing I wrote down was that, well, the first thing that I wrote down is that I got a video and this coming out, and it because most of you guys, hopefully you've seen it already, that I've got a series out where I'm doing an interview with Dale, community manager interview. So Dale is obviously the community manager for Space 8 for Transformers Earth Wars, and I've released 2 of the videos so far. If you hadn't seen them, check them out. But one of the things that I was talking about with him, and I hadn't released that video yet, was endurance bots. And I don't want to get into it too much. I still want to leave some content for you guys to watch later on. Some of you guys that are my members have probably already seen it. I released that video for you guys. I started off with my diamond members first so they could see the full interview unedited. And then I released it to the rest of my members. So I got a couple new members lately, started watching the video. So if you guys aren't a member, I'm actually getting a lot better about releasing more exclusive content. So you can go see the entire interview. You can go see it right now if you want to go sign up for membership. So that, and the fact that I wanted to get a couple more members before, because I was going to do a giveaway for, and if Chris, let me know if you're still good for that. But we want to go do a giveaway for one of the toys that Chris won from the Transformers Earth Wars contest a little bit back. I want to get a couple more members, and honestly, I wanted to give away a couple more opportunities for non-members as well. And along with that, I wanted to give away some loot links. But as Soldier pointed out to us the other day, our loot links are broken right now, so I wanted to kind of work through that as well. But anyway, going back to endurance events. So endurance events, I'm never going to completely sit an endurance event out. The least I've done, I think, is 1 mil, or sat on the 1 mil alliance event for endurance, and that's because the prizes, you're gonna have a lot of good prizes. You need the 5-star shards now. In my alliance family, I saw a couple people talking about sitting out, and I was like, kind of to prove a point to Space 8 about what we want as players for the endurance events and endurance bots. But one problem that I've seen with endurance events is, and one of the things that I was talking to Dale about during the interview, is these bots. There's a backlog of bots that we're waiting on 5-star batch. Now, I imagine we're going to see a 5-star batch soon, but we're still going to have a bunch of endurance bots that have not entered batches yet. And, you know, the furthest back it goes is, I believe, Braun and Full Tilt came out in March, I believe it was, of 2022. So now you're talking about you sat around for 9, almost 10 months without releasing those bots in the batches. And so one of the I was talking to some friends earlier. I was talking to my buddies over in Canada East, and then one of the things they were saying is like, dude, when is this stuff going to come out? Like, and I'm not going to get into all of it because I talk about it in my interview with Dale. But one of the things they have to prioritize as a company for Space Ape is they have to get these bots. They got to get these endurance bots in there faster, man. And when you start looking around, Silla's still out there. Um, you know, you gotta, you're gonna have Tarn is still out there. Let's see, Junk Heap, Wreckgar, they're still out there. Like I mentioned, Full Tilt still out there. It's a lot of them that still gotta go into these patches. Um, Wild Rider is obviously new, he's still out there. So on and so forth. So it's a lot of these guys, right? So what's going to be the catch-up mechanic to get these guys into batches sooner? I think there has to be a clear cut, like this is the exclusivity period and we have to figure out a way to get these bots in there. And then you got to think about the legacy batch. The legacy batch is a thing now. And with the legacy batch, you have to you're going to start having 5 stars go in there and into the legacy batch. So, for example, we got Drill Horn and Nose Cone now. Drill Horn and Nose Cone went into an individual event after they had the legacy batch rework, and the plan is for Huffer and Lockdown to go into next batch, and they want to try to do like 3 or 4 more batches of legacy batches this year, depending on Dale's availability. And it's just like, man, we're adding more and more 5 stars, but how are we going to get the endurance bots in a reasonable amount of time? So look for that video to come out this weekend. It was supposed to be my 5th out of 6 videos in the series, but I think it's a good time. To have that conversation as players. So I'm going to release that video early, and I'm going to actually do that on either Friday, either tomorrow or Saturday. I'm going to release that video for you guys to look at. And please, please, please chime in and let me know what you think, because all of those things, all those comments you guys make, F Space Ape isn't already watching. I wind up sharing with them later on as a sidebar conversation. All right, let's check in there in the chat again. I see some people talking about what they want for endurance events and bots. And Big Joe, 2 simple words: we want game changers. We want game changers. And did I took the, what happened to the camera here? Yeah, there I am. But we want game changers in the for endurance bots. Make sure that we got bots that are really, really powerful. Yeah, and let's see. So Soldier says he's completing the event. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Mercenary Terror says Dale, he watched the video and he said Dale was saying that their players had spent thousands, and he said that surprised him. Yeah, it surprised Dale too. It surprises a lot of us, and I think that, and if you guys aren't familiar with what he's talking about, if you hadn't seen the video yet, the video he's talking about in part 2 of my interview, we were talking about the VIP program, and part of what we were talking about for the VIP program was that players were using a lot of players were looking at it and saying, man, these guys are trying to force us to spend, and they're putting like thousands of dollars up there as the rewards. Now people actually spend that. I've heard players say they spend over the course of a year, like $12,000 on the game. I think that's the most that I've heard, but I know there's more because there's some statistics on it somewhere. So that's how they came up with that price point, so they could reward them. They're not trying to force people to try to spend that much. And so if you hadn't seen that, like these interviews with Dale is really eye opening. It restored a lot of my confidence in the game just having those conversations with Dale. So please check it out when you get a chance. Big Joe says most people want Rodimus, and he still isn't in the batch. And I was actually, well, a bunch of us in our Alliance family chat in the Horde were talking about him yesterday because Tex was the one that was really building the strategy around him, and even he was stating his reasons for not wanting to do that any further in the game. Um, and I know a lot of you guys probably caught Sunstreak Owaza's stream today. One of the things he was talking about was should players start going for 5-star bots, um, 5-star combiner pieces as bots in the batches because I mean he had his reasons, and I think most of it revolves around players at top levels. They got the bots they need for the most part. You hit a point in the game if you played it long enough where you got the bots you need. You don't really necessarily need anything else. Most of the bots just start to become a nice to have. And Dale actually talks about that on a separate video. I'm gonna release that video probably next week, talking about 5-star combiners. And long story short, we hadn't been picking those 5-star combiner pieces, and I think that's gonna be key to us actually getting 5-star combiners at some point. But there's more to it than that, and I don't want to get into all of it right now. That's not what this stream is about. But yeah. So look forward to that in the near future as well. But I want to take a look at some of these fire bots, and I'm gonna move on. And obviously the first one is staring us right there in the face, and that's gonna be T2. Now you guys know I talked about T2 a bunch, and I actually like T2 the way he was, but that was more for my own specific team synergy. But T2 just, on top of having great damage and great health, I use him with Baru in this particular case just because I want to keep him back a little bit. Since then, Lancelot is coming out. That's another good option, and Lancelot's ability triggers faster. And so and I'll just switch these bots and switch their places around a little bit. But with T2, he just does so much damage and he has so much range that you can use him for the long range combo. Like that combo I was trying to use with Acid Storm and Predacon and Inferno, you can easily pull off with T2. You might not even need the combo with T2, to be honest. And so that's one aspect that I was looking at. And so, but even then, when you look at the area that he can cover, he covers a decent area, but then the impact is more. We'll take a look at it real quick. When they committed to making those bombs, it wound up becoming a decent amount of damage. Now, it's still going to be some damage over time, but now you can see he's actually taking a lot of those defenses out, which is a desired effect that you want from your bots, and especially particularly your endurance bots. Now, I think your endurance bots should be the best ones in the game. And I was having a conversation with some friends earlier, and they said, well, no, that's going to make people, that's going to be like the only people that are going to have the bots are going to be the people that pay for the bots. And I was like, I don't think that's it. Now, I put bots in 3 categories. I put bots in categories where they're either super, super old content that just, well, actually 4 categories if you think about it. Because there's some that are super old and power creep sets in. Then you have some bots that came to the game that were never good at all. Then you're going to have some bots that are elite bots and should be used at all levels of play. And then you're going to have some bots that, well, power creep is starting to set in, but they're still usable. And so a lot of times when I'm working in playtest, especially when I'm working with Legacy Batch, I want to look at making bots usable at all levels of play. And then endurance bots, I would like to see just be elite, and then you're getting rewarded for the money that you spend in the game during the endurance event. So, and that's kind of where I'm at with the endurance bots. Um, as far as bots that do fire, let me go pull up my notes because I got a list of ones that I want to talk about. But T2's the fire bot, and I see Mercenary Terry said, "Get the pitchforks." I'm talking about T2 again. I'm not going to T2 you to death today. I got other stuff I want to talk about. But let's see. So then when you look at some of the bots, and I'm gonna scroll around through here. You got bots in here like C C Phantom and Whirl. Well, shoot, he's got it wasn't C Phantom and Whirl because they don't have fire. I keep thinking they should have fire because they got acid, and that's not the case. Um, then you got bots in here like Swindle, and that's the 4-star. I think I got the 5-star up there, so I'll use him as an example. You got Swindle, got good range. Cost is a little bit high. I mean, it does decent damage, and this is one of those bots that I was talking about where, hey man, and even though he wasn't ever really highly used, that impact that he had was pretty substantial. But you have to wait for the damage over time. But with damage over time, the good thing you always want to have range with damage over time. But at that level of damage, and as we got shields and we started to get all kinds of healing and stuff like that, it just didn't become a viable play anymore. So even for people who did enjoy him, the game kind of passed him by a little bit. He's got his G1 to boost him up to that damage. But then you get bots like him, and then a newer model comes out, and so then you got bot like Trigger Happy, and it says, hey, he's gonna start off. He's gonna have so first off, the damage over time is shorter, 6 seconds, and then so you're gonna set that large area on fire, and then on top of that, you're gonna use your heat-seeking missiles. So for Trigger Gun and for Trigger Happy and Six Gun, I tried to blend their names together there for a second. Then you're gonna have substantial amount of damage at a high cost at 8+2, and so then you got bots like that, right? Then you get bots that fell out of the meta. So I'll use an example of something like Goldfire and Ramjet. And I actually got my Ramjet t-shirt on today, so how appropriate. So for a warrior class bot, especially for what most of us were using them for, we're using them for sack, decent damage, long-lasting damage. So even at that range, you're gonna have it last for 11.4 seconds. So it's gonna take some time for stuff to wear down, but it would wear down. They felt like he was somewhat overpowered, so they gave him an ability that most people consider not that good, probably one of the worst in the game. But the idea was to try to spread the radius so that you could do more fire damage. And then you got a bunch of bots that you gotta use your G1s for. So I'll go back to these bots over here. Brawl just does normal damage, but then you add a G1. Another one with power creep kind of got him. But yeah, and they reduced the damage a little bit, but you got some fire damage over there over 6 seconds. I used them in wars for quite a bit, but once again, power creep set in. Drag strip, and a lot of people for drag strip and hound. And by the way, I meant to say that with Brawl, your Autobot counterpart is Prowl. But here with drag strip and hound, a lot of people just say, man, this is a bad bot. I actually like him quite a bit because he's got that long range, and but with his G1 is going to add fire to it, and that's the key for me, because what I use this for is I use it against any type of resource building. Now, right now, everybody's using their resource buildings in the front, in the prime leagues and in the upper leagues. So I don't use him now, but I exploit that because I use Slipstream, air raid for you guys on the Autobot side. And so because I use that, it's a real easy combo to just gain points real fast. I'm only using them for that, so I don't burn a lot of ability points spamming them or anything like that, and it works really well for me. So this is a bot that I can say it's not in the meta, but he's still usable. And that's why when we first started the conversation, I started off by breaking it down into all these different categories. Let's see. Then you get, let's see, who did I miss? And what tripped me out is how the meta kind of changed. Because when we first started getting acid fire as part of a meta, everybody was using this dude. Everybody was using Scavenger and Rust Dust. And this dude's never been appealing to me, man. That's like between his scout like ways and the low health and the damage is just okay. Like he's maxed out and he's at 667.5. The ability damage I feel like sucks and always has sucked. But everybody was using that. And don't get me wrong. That's one of the things a lot of people started following. I tried it for a little while because Tex had put that out there, and it looked really, really good. And he was dominating with it. But then they made a better. They made a better version. Well, I felt like the better version would have been T2. It would have been more pricey, but more effective. But then T2, a lot of people started using T2 in the place of Scavenger just because they could get more range out of them. Plus, Scavenger and Rust seemed like they were a little limited on range. And there were a lot of front-loaded bases at that time. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but I just don't like standing there while the base is sitting there with a bunch of defenses on me and my bots are getting pounded on. I don't like that. So, you just don't have a lot of good fire bots in the game, man. And you could use a couple of your tanks, but the tanks that you get 4 stars. You got Rampage, who isn't bad. He is one of those bots that you could potentially try to put in as a 5-star, 4 to 5-star combiner piece. And then you also had Bone Crusher, kind of does the same thing in another combiner piece. So I think that if you gave them the boost, and we talked about these guys last week, so I'm not going to talk about them extensively. But it's just like, all right, man, like, how many of them do you actually look at and say, hey, man, this is a good bot with a fire ability? And it's alarming to me because the bots aren't good to the point that people aren't even going to try to combo them with fire in a lot of cases. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. I want to see the fire bots get something that makes them just make people cling to them a little bit more. To the point that we don't use fire. I mean, even when you go into your power cores, I don't see that many people, at least not in top leagues. And I was using it for a little bit, especially like a lot of people were starting to use Headstrong for a little bit, or people use Headstrong, but they were starting to use the Megatronus core with them and try to get more damage. But then you started having a bunch of hacking with the Leech core on defense, and so in that particular case, instead of trying to go get the more damage, people wanted to go get that. But I kind of wonder, and I don't know if anybody has any experience with this. If you do, let me know in the chat. But now that you got Lancelon and you can't be hacked, would it be a good idea to go back to this Megatronus core and get the auto combo with acid and fire? I'm actually going to test that out real quick because I'm kind of curious. And obviously this is already one of the top bots in the game, or if not considered the top bot in the game right now. So you go in there, you give him Lancelon, keep him from being hacked. I'm gonna give him the 4-star because I'm gonna forget to put the. And the thing is, right now in my war team, I'm running the 4-star Lancelon, and I'm running them at level 1 on my half shell, just because that's like I don't need to level them. I'm only using them to keep half shell from running away from me in battle. And then other people, you just using them just to keep them from getting hacked. So, do you actually need to use Lancelot for that, or do you actually need to use, Lage? While I'm letting that load, let me take a look in the chat. And the other thing in this is too, and I meant to bring that up, there's a lot of fire bots on the Autobot side that I didn't mention because they're asset bots on the Decepticon side. That's got to be fixed. Anytime you make a bot, it's got to have the exact same ability, in my opinion. All right, so here I go in here and I use the asset Megatronus. Now there's not anything to hack me up here, but I can't be hacked. And you looks like you got decent AOE all around, just because you got everything. It's that fire and acid's touching everything in melee range. Granted, this is one of those bases. It's not like a top base or anything like that, but it just does make you kind of wonder. But I would love to see more people capitalize on those assets. And obviously I got hit by FFD there, but I took out a lot of stuff before he died. And that's when I wanted to see more people capitalize on fire and acid, whether it be Top Shot and Fireline. Like everybody's already using Fracas and Nightstick. Why not? Why not use the Cosmic Rust Cannon and try to get some of these fire bots going? Oh, that's actually, I'm looking in the chat and I see Big Joe talking about Vortex. That's another one of those bots that's got a G1. But I think that before we get to that point, I think that they're gonna have to give him a rework, and most people are gonna want a rework of that bot before people try to use him. But that would be a fire option with the G1 as well. So I don't know. That's my vision that I would have for endurance bots and for fire bots as well. I just want to see these endurance bots. I just want to see them be. I want to see them be the best in the game, and they'll eventually get into the 5-star batch. But in order for that to happen, I feel like we're gonna have to go get those batches out there faster. All right, now there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, and this was actually an idea from my friend Certainly, who's over in Canada East, and we were talking about ranks and for bot ranks. And actually, Waza was talking about it a little bit earlier today too. And one of the things he was talking about was, where is it worth using your 5-star shards to rank up your bots? And a lot of people I've had the same conversation with, and a lot of people, the answer for them is no, just because just another 5% is not going to give you that much more than what you were already getting in the game. And there's some validity to that. So the idea that Certain Lee had was, what if every time you went and used the bot, you were able to gain some character specific shards for that bot? And I think that would be awesome. So imagine my team. So say I got a bot like Slipstream, who I use all the time, and right now I've got her at Corporal. So say I want to go in here and use my 5-star shards to upgrade. At where I've got, for the amount of character shards I have already, I have to use 15,000 of those shards. So we'll go ahead and do that. I have to get 15,000 character shards, or I can use 2,229 here. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to carry her up to Sergeant. Now look at this. So when I want to go to Captain, now I'm going to need 25k of the character shards, and now I'm going to need, on top of that, another 3,750 of my 5-star shards. So now just to take this bot from corporal to captain, I've done more than enough shards that I would have had to use. That I could have used. I could have got another bot, and I think that's where the problem kind of lies, because we just got finished talking about earlier about how we got different types of players in the game, right? If you're free to play and you probably still got some bots that you need, ranking up is gonna, it's gonna be bad for you. You're gonna have to sacrifice 5-star shards. And don't get me wrong, I love the concept. I think it's good to have more ways, because the only way before that was that you had to pay to go get your um, you had to pay, or you had to go get a lot of crystals and open them. So now you can put people in a position where you can still hoard your crystals if all you had to do is play the game, and it would encourage people to play the game. Now, I would have some concerns with that idea, and I wrote them down. Let me see what they were. Um, there's a couple things. The first thing is, I think most people are just going to, now some people are going to try to rank up everything they got, I'm saying, all their 5 stars and stuff like that, and that's cool. I mean, everything that you got in the 5-star, any bot that you have, because obviously ranks go across every bot. If it's the same bot, it'll go across all the star levels. But then you start to wonder after a while, like if I was to be able to, every time I got a battle, just get small amounts of character shards for completing that battle, and people would want to play different game modes more. Because I know right now I go do my wars, I'll go do some Z farming, and and then larger events, and really that's it. And Soldier's kind of agreeing with me right now. He says, as a high level player, I had he says, as a high level player, I had all the bots I wanted, so I made all my war team bots captain and still have 5-star shards left over. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. So once you get to a certain level, you've hoarded all the shards. Saw Chris Harmon talking earlier, and he said he had about, what did he say, Chris, about 80k shards, of 5-star shards. And I know you ranked up some stuff. Big Joe says he's got one captain, that's his maxed out Quella gun. I've got a couple, and I'm not on the live server, I'm on the test server right now. I've got a couple, but then the question becomes like, all right, well, what game modes, like how would they be able to do something like that, to distribute shards if you just got it for playing? Like when I'm looking at different game modes, and I say, hey, you give some character shards out if I complete a war battle, I'd be cool with that, because all my war bots would constantly be getting fed during the wars. Now I probably wouldn't do it during events, and if I did do it during events, because events are every weekend, I think that would give them too much. So I might not do it for the events, or I would do it in a real small denomination. But what if you gave extra shards for elimination mode? You can only use each bot once, so you can give like maybe 3 times the shards if a bot completed an elimination mode battle, or normal battles. Once you get to a certain level, you don't have to resource farm anymore. I know I've always got resources saved up, so I don't do a lot of normal battles anymore, which is one of the reasons why, like, I still don't even have my walls maxed on my live account. I'm close, but I don't have it maxed out for you guys that have seen it, because I'm not really using them like that. So certainly definitely came out with a good idea for that. I want the apes to open up the Discord suggestions channel again, and if certainly doesn't make the suggestion, I certainly will. So if you guys are listening, man, get them to, and you guys, well, for you guys that are on Discord a lot, bug them about getting the suggestions channel up. And then when you do, and we get this up here, I need you to vote for it. I think it'll be a great idea. Michael Cooper says they need another raid with different rewards. Yeah, that's a good point, Big Joe. And, my fellow former military brother, said earn ranks by battles, just like the military, and that'd be dope. And I mean, it would fit the scheme of things really well. Um, it would allow you to still, like, for me personally, I'm ranking my war bots right now, and this next batch is going to drop, and I'm probably going to miss out on it. And I think that's the desired effect. Now, for some of you guys that have had a bigger collection of shards, some of you guys have had, either hit all the events really hard and got more shards than the majority of the players of the game, which is your right because A, you spent the money, and B, you played the game. But I'd just like to see a way that's like, hey, some of these free to play players, some of these players who aren't able to finish all of these events, maybe it gives them an alternative way to slowly get some of their character shards that they need in order to rank up. So, what do you guys think? Let me know. And Terror reminds me, and I actually did have him written down on my list. I did miss a Firebot, and that was Hunger. I ran right past him several times. What is fresh new G1? And I've used him. I've featured him on the stream before, man. Like he's just too fragile to be rushing in like that. Um, there's just not as many good Firebots. Who's his bot equivalent? Is it Snarl? I think the equivalent is Snarl. And even with the special ability boost up of 20.5% in a long range fireball, he's still not where he needs to be. I see Berserk is in the chat. He says it's useless for low to kit level characters because they don't have enough bots to get surplus shards. Yeah, and that's another point. And when the apes first started saying that they were gonna make this feature of ranks, um, like I totally understand. I think if you keep adding ranks, you can kind of cover some of the gaps, the kind of slow down power creep a little tiny bit. That's what I think the value is in it. Um, but to your point, those lower level players and lower they need to go get those 5 stars. They need to go build those successful war teams and stuff like that. So that's what I'm kind of looking at as well. So to your point, Berserk, you're absolutely correct in that. But yeah, it's just and it's a shame. It's not going to help low to mid level players as much unless and it sucks because especially when I look at the free to play crowd. Um, Granted, free to play, you're always going to have less, but like even if you can't hit like a Titan event or something like that, like the time it takes you to wait and not have that Titan, you're at a disadvantage, and then all the usually 4-star shards that you gotta give up, you lose that advantage as well. And you can't get as many bots, and if you can't get as many 4 stars, that means you're probably not going to get as many 5 stars as quickly because you're not going to get all those duplicates that you need. All right, so got a comment that says what they need it to do is boost up the rewards from duplicates, make it a higher chance to unlock new bots on repeat opens. That will encourage bundle buys, and that will be good for the economy of the game for sure. Escloasi says, but would ranks be more considered in-game content though? And that's the point. That does seem to be how it's viewed. It's viewed more as in-game content. But then when I look at stuff like some of the comments that when I was looking at Wasa's stream today, I was like, is that something now? Because it's there, and because inherently most of us and everybody is not like a full out fear of missing out FOMO type player or whatever. But let's be honest, most of us feel like if we don't do certain things, we're gonna miss out a little bit. And this is one of those things, like I want all my bots to be captains and stuff like that. But to your point, with that being in-game content, then and me being a Prime League hard mode player exclusively, maybe it is supposed to be like that. But then again, at the same time, why would they introduce skips? Why would they introduce 5-star shards? Well, I guess the 5-star shard thing we already explained. But you know, Jacada says, "What if the Cyber Pass missions that required you to use specific bots rewarded character shards?" Now, that's dude. I'm actually gonna write that down because that's another good idea. That's another good idea. I mean, and I'm sure you get a good voice with Space Ape as well. But Cyber Pass missions, that would encourage people to do those missions. That's crazy. That's a great idea. But yeah, say Black Knight Mon is up there. Thanks for joining, buddy. And they are, I do believe they are going to start putting some rank skips in the Cyber Pass. But anytime they put a skip in the Cyber Pass, the problem is this: you either going to lose out on something else that people want to skip, and people get upset about it, and sometimes it changes back. Sometimes there's these long gaps, and because I'll be honest with you, and I don't fault Space Ape for that. I feel like Cyber Pass is one of those things you want to be able to set it and forget it. Hey, this is the Cyber Pass. This is what we do. I wouldn't, me personally, if I was running the organization, I wouldn't change it that much. And the reason why I wouldn't change it that much, and I'm not saying Space Ape is like this. I'm talking specifically as Freezy as Max. I'm too lazy to go in there and change that shit all the time. I'm just not going in there and doing it all the time. Now, to your point, and I'm looking in the chat now, and I see the suggestion replace the building skips. Um, you could, because most of us that have already at HQ 18, you don't need them. But then that's gonna screw over some of the mid-level players, some of the guys that ain't HQ 18 yet. Um, and to be honest with you, I still got a bunch of skips on mines. So even when the next HQ level comes, I'll probably just save them for the HQ level after that. So, but you could rotate them in temporarily to see if that. But anyway, I think they're gonna wind up putting those skips in there in the Cyber Pass at some point anyway. So regardless, you know that point that point is pretty much made, and I think they're tracking. Let's see. Berserk says, "Can you suggest they take battle boost out of dispatch and free crystals? Just give them with dupes." Me personally, okay. Well, you said don't replace, just add. Now I could suggest that. I love my battle boost, so I wouldn't replace them. But if you want to add to them, sure. Let's see. You got a comment that says you have to look at the cyber pass holistically for the entire population. What's good for us at HQ 18 might not be good for low level players, and that's the key point. And I think a lot of times, um, like me personally, I try to look at the game as a whole. Sometimes it's hard. I ain't been, when I go talk to my HQ 14 buddies and stuff like that, I hadn't been there in a while, man. I ain't been there in years. And so you think about, I want. But I would consider that I try to be as objective as possible. And everybody doesn't do that. But Space Ape has to do that. And certain times, there'll be things that are going to be beneficial to lower and mid tier players. And that's okay. It's absolutely okay. I think it helps when Space Ape comes up with a new concept and say, hey, top players, this isn't for you. And then you can even go down the list of stuff that they did give us. You can be like, hey, man, we gave you this nice reward program for VIP. We give you, you know, some of these larger events. A lot of us started asking for large individual events. I didn't, but it's starting to grow on me. And I'm actually going to run something real quick because speaking of the event, I never talked about how I'm going to approach this event. And then, of course, I get logged out of the test server. Now, a lot of people already do this, but what I think I'm going to do is I hadn't been using combiners during events very much. I use them Like if I'm running a war attempt, I'll use whatever binder I use for the war attempt. But what I think I'm gonna do, and I think it's gonna get me through this event really quickly, I'll probably go for the bot. I'll probably try to complete the event. Um, but if I don't, because it's an individual event, that's okay too. But what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna power level a bunch of bots, and I think I'm going to do it by using this. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna take my maxed out God Neptune. I'm gonna take him into zone 15. And I think I was telling Chris, and I might have told a couple of you other guys too. What I started doing last Sunday, I hadn't touched the 10K event at all. And so what I wound up doing is I would drop one bot in zone 15 that pop out with God Neptune, and I'd rush them as far up to the base, to the HQ as I could. Now, depending on how clustered it is, I might just turn back around and shoot, depending on the ranges. But I shoot is tidal wave ability. Then I run over, get some more shielding. Oops, went the wrong way there. And then I just destroy everything anywhere around the HQ. And when I did this the other day, and this time I actually ran out of time, but like in this case I got a rush tank, so in headstrong, and whichever bots I use, I keep a bot around. Like I actually kept dead end around while I was doing it, just in case I didn't destroy the base. Then I would just teleport him up to the HQ and then boom. But when I did this last weekend, it's only a 10K event, so it wasn't very large. But in 1 hour, I had completed the prize portion of the event, and that's all I did. Is just I just used God Neptune, drop one bot so I could give him some XP, and then I just hit fast forward. And within 1 hour, I was done with 10K. So I think usually for endurance, if I'm gonna go for endurance, I take Friday off from work. I can't do that this time because my boss is gone, and I'm actually replacing her for the week. But what I am thinking about doing is just getting up early Saturday morning, just getting me a good start, and maybe hit it for like an hour at a time. Hit the game for like an hour, do the God Neptune thing, come back. You know, later on, I got a workout that I got to do on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. Um, so I'm trying to get back in shape, try to get rid of this little fat roll here, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, man. So I think I'll be able to do that in plenty of time. A lot of boring NFL games on this weekend, so I can probably do some of it on Sunday if need be. But I think I've got the Shanix for it. I think I'll just, I think I'll go for it just because I want the prizes and I want the XP for my team. So yeah. But yeah, that's my plan for the endurance event. I think I am gonna go for the bot, not for the bot itself, but just for so that I can try to finish off a couple of bots. I'll run some XP cores on Saturday morning. I think I got 3 of them, so I can run one on Sunday morning. I can get and I'll charge up. I got all 3 of my XP charges in my alliance for this weekend, and then boom. But all right, guys, I'm gonna head back into the lab. And like I said, thanks for hanging out with me this late on the first stream of 2024. I'm really looking forward to 2024 content wise and Transformers Earth Wars wise. So, if you guys hadn't already, like I said, go get your membership, man. I'm gonna be doing a lot more content, exclusive content, and then you won't have to wait as long. But invite some more people to come watch this stream, man, and subscribe to the channel because I'm getting really close to being able to get monetized for the advertisements that pop up on YouTube. So I'll imagine I'll probably see that sometime late in the summer. So, but anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Enjoy your endurance event, and I will see you next time. And I will also see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.